Requesting connection. Established. Encrypted. We're live. The show you've been asking for. Advice, technology, and community. Linux first, all others second. This is Ask Noah.
Live from Multispeed Technologies, the show that puts you, the listener, in the driver's seat because you are the content. The phone lines are open to be a part of the program. It's a free call, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. Hey, give me a call. We'll have a conversation about your tech questions or business and tech questions. Linux advocate, above all else, small business owner, and now host of the only radio show centered around you, the listener. Welcome to the Ask Noah Show. My name is Noah Chalaya. So good evening to you all. Delighted to be here. Another episode of the Ask Noah Show starts right now. Coming up this hour, many of you have written into the show over and over and over again or sent me Telegram messages, and you've asked about automation. Now, I'm not talking about home automation this hour. What we're talking about is computer automation. The ability to set up a computer once, to give that computer a given configuration, and then to have that computer set up over and over and over again. Or maybe you want to set up a cluster of computers like that. Now, there are a variety of different ways to get that done, not up to and including even using something like Clonezilla, which we have done. But there are better ways to automate setting up computers. And so this hour of the Ask Noah Show, we're going to do what we do best. We're going to find the industry experts that understand this stuff inside and out. We're going to make them available to you by asking them the questions that you want answered. And then, of course, we're going to condense that down into a 1-hour radio show. So stay tuned for a guest that's going to join us this hour talking about Chef. As always, though, phone calls, phone lines. Callers always go to the top of the front of the line, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Matt starts us off this hour in St. Paul, Minnesota. Hey, Matt, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Hey, Noah, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. How can we help?
I'm part of a large touring Pink Floyd act, believe it or not. And so we have a ton of multimedia stuff going on, and I've been kind of designing the technology to do moving headlights and video and sound effects and a click track and everything. And right now, I'm using a Mac Mini, but it's from like 2011. And in the last 5 years or so, I've just gotten more and more into Linux. And I've now gotten to where the software can run on Linux, and we could do our show from it. But the trouble is hardware. As you know, you've probably seen Macs don't run Linux great, and it might as well just keep using Mac OS on that. But I want to build a rack mount server, and I don't really have any idea where to start for something that can be like really stable and kind of shielded from interference because it'd be in a rack with a bunch of other audio gear. Right. And that would have a strong graphics card with 2 video outputs because we need HDMI to a projector and HDMI to a unit on stage that has a foot control.
Okay. Yeah, wow. Okay. So there's a lot going on there. So so let's start with this. First of all, how deep are your racks?
Oh, I think it's 18 to 20 deep. Not super deep.
Right.
I mean, I could get a new case and wheel it separately if it needed to be deeper.
Here's why I ask, Matt, because what I have run into time and time again, because we've actually solved this problem about 50 times over, and what we run into all the time is the rack depth ends up being the factor that screws you, and here's why. Most racks have a depth of maybe 20 inches. 24 inches would be a really, really deep rack, especially if it's 2-post stuff for AV stuff. A lot of your Gators and SKB, so on and so forth. A lot of those are going to be more narrow. In fact, a lot of companies are going to like the half depth ones. There is one company that I was able to find, and only one company that I'm aware of, that makes a 2U 19-inch depth case that can be used for AV purposes. And I've only ever had one problem with it, and the only problem I've ever had is the fans that ship with it. Like you said, noise is everything inside of these when you're building something like this, because everything is so tight, and so your EMI is through the roof. And the fans they generate a lot of electrical noise, so you have to be willing to replace the fans. But it's literally 2 screws per fan, and
so you're not talking about acoustic noise on the fan. You're talking about how it'll induce like in the
okay. Yes, and so there's 4. It comes with 4 fans. You take the 8 screws out, take those 4 fans. I've just replaced 2 of them, and I've never had a problem. And like you said, when it comes to acoustic noise, you want to get the largest fan you can get because it will spin at a slower RPM, thus creating less noise but offering the same cooling. So that's option 1. And if you want dedicated graphics, that's really your only option. And here's why. There are you have to have a certain amount of height inside of the case to accommodate even the smallest of graphics cards. And so the other option that I'm going to recommend to you, just to something to consider, because we've done it before, won't work here. But this case, and I will have a link to the show notes for you, this case will work, and it was actually the case that we used to build the Jupiter Broadcasting mobile broadcasting rig that we've used, and I've since used in a number of different things. I can tell you that it works from a production standpoint, with that one fan issue being the one thing you got to watch out for. Now, one other option that we have done, we have used a factory-made computer from Dell. It is the Dell, I'm just looking it up here, 3050 Micro. Now, this computer it's actually just a hair smaller than the Mac Mini, so it would fit your existing workflow probably pretty well. Now, the Optiplex 3050 Micro does have 2 display outputs. It has a display port and it has HDMI. So if you're just doing mirroring, or if you're just doing 2 displays, that will work great. When you said you want when you use term. Yeah, but when you use...
we can convert HDMI DVI.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all one digital signal, just a different connector. However, when you say you want 2 solid graphics cards, mind you, it is an integrated graphics card with 2 outputs. Now, I've used the 3050 Micro with, and I'm going to put a link here in the show notes too, and I'm going to talk about the show notes. But the thing about the 3050 Micro is it will do 2 displays, but you got to be a little careful, because if you try and ask it to do too much, and I'll give you an example of what too much is, sometimes you'll lose frames and stuff if you're recording. And so, for example, we had a church that we were putting in we tried to use a 3050 Micro, and we were capturing 4 1080p video signals over the USB bus. Okay. And we were trying to record that, stream it out, and output one display to the projector that the church was seeing, and one other one back in the control room. And that was too much. We eliminated 2 of the cameras, and once I eliminated 2 of the input sources and it didn't have to process those, then all of a sudden the 3050 worked. So it works if you're... Good.
Back 1080p H.264 video, so it would have to have really good hardware acceleration. But if that can do that, then that sounds like more than enough.
Yeah, what I would suggest is buy it from somewhere, and the link I'm going to give you is Amazon. I would suggest buying it from somewhere like Amazon. That way, if you get everything set up and you try it and it doesn't work, you're not out any money, because Amazon will let you return it, no questions asked, all of that. And then you can go the route of building your own. But I can tell you, as far as acoustic noise, EMI noise, as far as reliability, as far as stability, that 3050 Micro is it's an insane computer. I mean, it is a really great machine, and they're not that expensive. They're like $500.
That sounds like a really good option. Okay, perfect. Actually, I think we're going to be in your neck of the woods pretty soon, like within a couple of weeks. So,
oh, really?
I'll have to hit you up on Telegram or something.
Yeah, please. Yeah. In fact, I'll do you one better. I'm going to put you back on hold, and I'll let Sarah pick up. And if you could grab some contact information, or she can give you maybe an email address for me or something like that, and that way we can just stay in contact. Because I'd love to take you out for dinner if you're in Grand Forks. And that offer, by the way, stands for anyone that ever stops by my neck of the woods. I'd gladly take anyone out for dinner if you're in Grand Forks, so look me up. Again, phone lines 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. The email live@asknoahshow.com. Stu is calling from Scotland. Hey, Stu, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Oh, thanks very much.
Yes, sir. How can we help?
All right, okay. I have maybe 100 different sites located around Scotland. Now, I don't manage them or anything, but I need to install an application at every one of those sites. They've all got Windows-only networks. They're all completely different. And And I was wondering if Altispeed would have some way of approaching this problem. Now, the application is Windows only. It has to be running my SQL server, and it's a .NET application, and it takes ages to install. Now, if I was living in the happy world of Linux, I'd just build a single image and then stick like a box running libvirt or something and just virtualize it and deploy it everywhere without spending too much time. But I don't know how you virtualize Windows in a way that lets you license it properly, but use a single image across multiple different locations. And I just wondered how you would approach that.
Sure. So I would break that problem up into two smaller problems. The first problem is actually going from the physical machine to the virtual machine. And that process is pretty simple. There's an application put out by Microsoft. We talked about it numerous times on the show, but I'll have a link for you in the show notes as well. And basically, it's an executable. You run it, Stu, on your physical machine, and it will just generate a virtual disk image of that physical hardware. Pretty straightforward.
Yes. I'm sorry. What I mean is, I don't want to have to go to their site and virtualize some horrible installation of Linux of Windows, and then have to install the application on top of it. I want to build almost like an appliance that I can just drop into this 100 different places, presumably preceding it with some kind of license key or something, or reusing a license from them and then decommissioning one of their machines, but not going through the process of virtualizing an existing machine and then putting the application on top.
Well, how many machines are we talking about here?
It's 100 sites, so it'd be 100 machines.
Okay. Here's why I ask. Because Microsoft does have so I'll give you an example, Stu. So at a school district that we work with, they have a Microsoft licensing server, and they load into that licensing server a certain amount of licenses. And so anytime a piece of software comes online that needs a Microsoft license, it reaches out to that license server, says, okay, I need whatever, I'll just make something up, Microsoft Office. I need to install Microsoft Office. Okay, we have one available. Okay, great. It pulls that down from the quote-unquote license pool, and now that piece of software is licensed. I don't know, because I don't work, directly. Obviously, we're a little bit outside of my purview, but I don't know exactly what the threshold Microsoft requires you to have before they will let you set up a system like that. But that sounds to me like what you're looking for, because you will not have to worry about license. Now, as far as how to get the actual application installed in an appliance like Factor so that you can move that around, that would depend on a couple different variables. It's going to depend on how the network stack is set up, and if there, is this SQL database, is it going to be different for every site, or is it the exact same thing over and over and over again? All of those things are going to depend a little bit. But what you could do is you could build just speaking in broad terms, Stu, you could build what we'd call like a sterile disk image of the most basic install and config that you could possibly envision. And then, and then copy that image over to the new hypervisors and deploy that out. And then using a Microsoft licensing server, pull down the appropriate license so that it is licensed correctly.
Right. Okay.
Does that help you?
God, it'd be so much easier if it was just an Ubuntu VM or something.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. I'm so sorry about that question being so Windows focused.
No, that's fine.
It's the horrible world I live in at the moment.
No, you know what? Hey, you know what? The reality is, Stu, and sometimes this shocks people if I go out to dinner and we're talking about it, but somehow I've developed this reputation like basically everyone around me has switched to Linux, and that's all we use is Linux. And if you walk into Altispeed, we're like, Windows? What is Windows? What is Microsoft? What is this Microsoft you speak of? How do you think all of the people that we get onto Linux got there? What do you think they were using when we took over those sites? And how do you think those companies hire us if we're not capable of managing a Windows system to begin with? So, you got to meet people where they are. And no, for sure, we do our fair share of work on Windows systems. I don't like it, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. But like you said, you wake up and you find yourself, that's the boat that you're in. You deal with it. You deal with the environment that you're given, and there's nothing wrong with that. But thanks for calling in, Stu. It was an interesting question, interesting conversation. I appreciate it. Corey is calling from Texas. Hey, Corey, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Hey, Noah.
Hello, sir. How can we help?
I'm actually looking for a little bit of an alternative. I'm using a software called Hootsuite to manage all my clients' social media.
Yes.
And it's semi-open source. And right now, my company is still growing, and I'm trying to not go over the budget. And Hootsuite is taking out a good chunk of it.
Sure.
That's the most new software that I've been using.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll tell you what I do, Corey, and we'll see if this helps you. I think so your question is, what's a better solution than Hootsuite that you could use to manage all of these social media things without having to pay this, exorbitantly high monthly fee, at least, comparatively speaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I do, Corey. What I have found that works really well for me is I have actually gone out to the community and said, is there anybody looking to make a couple extra bucks on the side? Here's how many social media posts we're looking to have out. Here's what the company is able and willing to pay. Is there anyone to do this? And in 3 different occasions, I have found people that have said, yeah, I'd be willing to manage that. Now, there's a wide variety of reasons. One, it was a nonprofit organization that was helping new immigrants to the United States get settled. And the person that stepped up and said, yeah, I would like to work with them, was just interested in helping out with the organization. In the Ask Noah Show's case or whatever, it was a gentleman, Mr. Simon Quigley, who just said, I just want to help and be a part of the success of the program and help people get onto Linux. And so there's different motivations of why people will do it for work within your budget. But in every case that I have had that problem and I've said, okay, the software solution is too expensive, is there somebody out there that would be willing to help me out and do this kind of social media management? A lot of people are like, you know what? I've got an extra 15, 20 minutes a day. I'm on Twitter anyway. I don't mind retweeting some stuff or coming up with the tweet and sharing it out. Or, sometimes you give like Simon, for example, we make up little memes and I send them to him and he's just got a batch of them and he tweets one out, whatever. Stuff like that. Is that something you think would work for you, Corey?
Doing a freelancer thing would probably be cheaper than Hootsuite.
Yeah.
I'll get with my person who does the money, and I'll figure out a budget for that.
Yeah. The first step is getting a budget and then find out what the requirements are, how many times they want to be, they want social media to go out, and then you can kind of go from there. Again, phone line's 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Make your voice heard, become a part of the program. Let's go back to the phones here. Who do we have? Chaz is calling from New York. Hey, Chaz, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Hey, Noah, how's it going?
Excellent. How can we help today?
Well, lately I've been digging this podcast run by this crazy guy in an RV called Tech Talk Today. And,
I might have heard of that.
Yeah, I thought you might have. So many interesting topics we could discuss there, but I wanted to hit on the most recent one, which was the recent Facebook, the revelation that Facebook is doing what we already knew they were doing with our personal data.
Right.
And I wanted to ask, because I did look on the EFF website and a few other places to try to find the information on my own, but I wanted to ask, is there an Ask Noah approved method of reducing one's Facebook footprint, be it because you want Facebook to have less information about you to give to third parties, or because you're interested in limiting the amount of stuff that potential employers can find on you, or
sure.
I guess you can probably figure out where I'm going with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything like that? Any resources that you use or extensions or things?
Well, I've got a half answer for you. I'll be honest with you. I'm like the worst person to ask this question, and I'll tell you why. I'll disclose my bias. I'm the worst person to ask, Chaz, because I don't care what Facebook does with my data, because I've never put anything on Facebook that I consider to be private. I don't post private things. Everything I post is to my public timeline. In fact, I've had people send me messages and they'll say, could I be part of your actual friends list? Because it seems like the only posts I ever see are the ones that you publish publicly, and I would like to be on your and I like, sure, but I don't have two sets of friends lists. The only exception to that is I have a small one of those whatever viewer reduced groups, in privacy setting groups inside of Facebook for my political posts, simply because I know that's not everyone's cup of tea. And so I very much value everybody's friendship on Facebook, and I think there's far more things that we can find to agree on than we can disagree on. And so I try not to plaster that in other people's faces unless you're interested in engaging in discourse with me, in which case I gladly add anyone to that group. But for that reason, when I heard about the Facebook data breaches and I started reading it in there, I was like, well, the thing is, I just, like you said, we all kind of assumed that Facebook was, collecting a lot of this data. And so if there is a breach and when things get leaked out, there's really nothing that's on Facebook I really care about. And furthermore, 90% of it, I want to get leaked somewhere. I would be very happy if the post for episode 55 of the Ask Noah show got leaked somewhere and spread all over the internet. That would make me a very happy person. And so for those reasons, I'm not a great person to ask that. I'm not the best person to give you that answer. But here's what I would do if you were concerned about those things. Using something, I guess what I would say is we have a Mastodon community that is linuxrocks.online. I don't talk about it enough on the show, but what's great about Mastodon, if you haven't played with it, it is a decentralized social network that can talk to all of the other instances of that social network. And so you can see just the posts from our primarily Linux and Jupiter Broadcasting Ask Noah show based community, or you can see every post on Mastodon ever. You can also choose to tie any post that you make on Mastodon to Facebook, or have it retweet. And so the advantage there is if you have a lot of friends and family and you want to share pictures of the grandkids or pictures of the kids or outing events or whatever, you can say, like, this is something I'm okay splattering it all over the internet. Go ahead and do this. And this is the more privacy conscious thing that I only want my close friends and family to see. And so I keep that just on our local family Mastodon server or whatever. Is that at all a helpful answer to you?
A little bit. I mean, kind of my end state goal is to reduce my social media presence altogether.
Sure.
So, obviously you've talked about Mastodon on the show before, and I haven't really gotten into it just because I don't need more apps on my smartphone.
Yeah.
But, I can definitely see, just kind of like the being more intelligent about the posting of things like that. I was just kind of thinking in terms of, Facebook started 10 years ago. That's when we all got it. And sometimes that little on this day thing pops up and you look at it and be like, man, that's just kind of, where did that come from?
Right. And I'll tell you something else too, just on this day thing. I have found that to not be accurate. Like, I know for a fact, I was watching the presidential inauguration last year. And this year it came up and it was like, on this day last year you were, and I was like, no, I wasn't, because the date was very distinctive. The day was very distinctive. What I did that day was very distinctive. And it was like, it was a couple days off. Like, it wasn't even like, well, the calendar, the day fell on a different, day this year or whatever. It was like way off. It's just a side rant, but no, I understand where you're coming from. My suggestion to anyone that values their privacy, stay off of social networking. Just stay off of it altogether. Because if not today, tomorrow you're going to be burned. And do not trust the privacy features to keep your information private. Do not trust them. There are reports of social media entities selling information. I know that I have not used one myself, but I know that there are services that are available to do like social media digging on potential employees. There's all sorts of reasons why, if you value your privacy, you shouldn't do those things. I take a hybrid approach. I value my privacy, and so I just don't put that stuff online, period. And the stuff that if you go on my Facebook, you'll find very, very few pictures of my kids. And that's not because I haven't shared all of them with you. It's just because I don't trust half the world out there. I don't trust anyone. And so I just don't put that stuff on my Facebook. And we've linked articles in the past in the show. And I'm just going to, we've linked articles in the past in the show that talk about why you should be very careful with pictures of your kids. And I'll just take a moment to say that I've been collecting some harsh but appreciated feedback on the show notes. And so what I will tell you is that I have revamped the way that we have we are doing show notes, collecting show notes, and I will make sure that all of the information is available to you, but you have to meet me halfway. I cannot promise you that, first of all, the show notes are not going in the YouTube description. They are not going to go in the YouTube description. First of all, that's not my channel. It is Jupiter Broadcasting channel, so the decision isn't even mine, even if I wanted to. Second of all, I don't think that the YouTube text box is a particularly... it's not possible with our current workflow, with the way that we write out show notes and the format that we write them in to try to paste that in. I could do it and it would look crazy because there's all these characters and stuff from the formatting that we use that goes onto the website. So those two reasons are enough that I can't put show notes onto the YouTube if I wanted to, and even if I could do it, I probably wouldn't because it wouldn't fit with our workflow. That said, getting the show notes is easier than ever. All you have to do, if you're on a web browser, podcast.asknowashow.com, click on the episode. All of the links are right there. If you're on your phone, it's even easier. Just swipe to the right, and all of the links will be there. And this will be the first episode that I'm going to be doing this with, but in future episodes, there's going to be a lot more content in those notes than even is published on the Jupiter Broadcasting site. And that's just because the way that the infrastructure is set up. I'm on the air right now, and I'm talking about this 8 Minutes of Fame site that I'm talking about. I can click a button, and it will just go in there. And I just don't have the memory to remember to go back and add that back into the show notes. I can do that, with one or two things, but we get into a 1 hour radio program and I have a bunch of callers. It's very difficult for me to remember that one thing that I said I was going to get to that person. And so on one hand, I apologize that I have not been better about making sure that information is available to you. On the other hand, I guess I'm telling you that it's probably going to continue to a certain extent, and the only way I can think to solve that problem is to use the tools that Chris is generously paying for and providing to me to make sure that this information is available to you. So podcast.asknowashow.com if you want the most complete, up-to-date show notes, and I can even add those after the fact. So if somebody says, I didn't get the link here in the past, I just wouldn't have been able to get you that information. I would have had to email it to you or whatever. Now I can click that button and retroactively it will go back into your podcast player or the web browser. So podcast.asknowashow.com. Let's make sure and utilize those resources. Christopher is calling for, oh no. Christopher is calling from Virginia. Hey, Christopher, welcome to the Ask Noah Show. Be nice to me.
Howdy.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, so I'm one of those security nuts that's always around the office harassing the developers about more encryption and separation of roles and privileges and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've been meaning to call for a while, and when you did the episode on SSL certs, I thought, well, I have to call now because I figure it's just because you don't know, but the SSL certs on the Ask Noah Show website aren't configured right. They're for an R4L.com. I'm guessing it's like a shared hosting provider or something.
Yeah. In fact, is there SSL at all? Let's see. I don't think there is.
There is a cert, but it doesn't work for AskNoahShow.com.
Okay.
The web server presents a cert. It just Yeah, you can't overwrite it and make it work.
Yeah, so the answer to that, this is not an excuse. Christopher is absolutely right. Noah is absolutely wrong. We should fix that. We will fix that. The excuse, if I'm allowed to give it, is just that we don't actually pay for hosting. One of the register I use is registerforless.com, and I like them for, like, I could do a whole episode on why they're like the best hosting provider ever on the face of the planet. But one of the things I like about them is they give you 50 megs or 100 megs or something of free web hosting with every site. And so when we launched, we don't pay for a server, we don't pay for hosting. We pay the $9 a year to own the domain. We get free email aliasing and forwarding, and we get free hosting. And so we threw a static page up, and it was just like a landing page that I could link people to all of the different resources. Now, as the show has progressed, it's obviously gotten substantially more advanced. We have the distro elimination challenge, we have the contact thing, we now have the podcast integration, all of those, the player. It's becoming more of a resource. So I will add that to my list, Christopher, of things that we need to get fixed sooner rather than later. And I'll even give you a tentative date. We will try to have that fixed by our 1 year anniversary, April 3rd episode. How's that? That's like 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate, you know what? And thank you, Christopher, for calling in and letting us know, because as uncomfortable it probably is to, like, I'm going to have to call this guy and harangue him because he's out there telling everyone they should use SSL. He's not using SSL like that. That is an important thing to point out. And we really appreciate that there are people like you that are knocking on the doors or noticing that the door's wide open. That'd be a good thing to fix. James is calling from Idaho. Hey, James, welcome to the Ask Noah Show.
Yeah, Noah, I'm looking, since they pulled some stuff on the repos, I'm looking for what you see is what you get web page editor that does not require me to remember all the HTML code.
Okay. On Linux, I assume?
And it used to be available, and it used to be some available in 14.4, but in you bunch of 16, they went bye-bye.
Yeah. The only WYSIWYG editor that I'm aware of, so I'll start with this disclaimer, because otherwise our producer, Michael Tennell, is going to kill me. Michael Tennell, producer and owner of VisuX, the guy who designed our non-SSL encrypted site. Not that he had anything to do with the cert, but he designed the website. We have him do everything, all of our graphic design, all of our video assets, all of the webpage stuff. He would tell you that you should not use a WYSIWYG designer. You should actually learn what all of those code things do. And with sites like W3 Schools, it should not take more than a week or so to start banging on some PHP or just basic HTML or CSS. All that said, the answer to your question is Bluefish. There's an editor called Bluefish that I have used in the past, because I am not a web designer and I don't claim to be one. And every once in a while I need to tweak something or change an image out or something like that. And I have used Bluefish, and that's as far as I'm aware, that is the closest thing on Linux you can get to a WYSIWYG designer. Does that help you? Oh, hold on a second. I clicked the wrong button. Sorry. Does that help you, James?
Yeah, that gives me someplace to start. The ones I've been playing with have been horrible, and they've been Windows-based, running out of wine, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd give Bluefish a try, and it like I said, there are some downsides to it. It's not perfect, and I have had it completely script the formatting a couple of times. So I would make sure to back up your web page before you try and use it. But if you wanted a WYSIWYG designer, that's the one to go to. Again, open phones, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Okay, coming up in the next part of the program, we're going to have Mr. John Wyatt. John was going to walk us through exactly what it takes to get Chef up and running. Now, he's custom written a guide for you guys, the listeners of the Ask Noah Show, and we're gonna debut that guide right here on the program right after we get to our Mumble room, because there's a couple of people in the Mumble room that had some questions. So we'll start with who was the first person? I don't know. Somebody speak up in the Mumble room. Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, hello there.
Hey, how can I help?
This is Daniel coming from Australia, and I've got two questions for you. I work for a church and a school, and I've got a question for each. But for the first question, my church is trying to do, basically, we're doing a class, and we're doing it in a classroom. We've got maybe 4 or 5 participants at the table, but we also want to broadcast that class online. And so far what we've been doing is we just been doing a Skype call. Anybody who wants to call in, we just add them on Skype. But what I would rather be doing, and what we're setting up to do, is record the class using Open Broadcaster, and that way we've got slides and chat and all that kind of stuff all in one. But I'm just wondering, is there a way to low latency stream a video broadcast that we could still have our live audio chat from something like Skype or Mumble or whatever?
Well, the lowest latency you're going to get is the real-time media protocol. And there is actually a very, very expensive box, like think $15,000 expensive box, that is made by a professional broadcast suite. And this is what they use to facilitate remote video broadcasts. So you have the anchor out live on set or on scene, and the studio asks, tell us about the weather, and then she responds or whatever. And that box, if you peel back all of the fancy marketing, what is underneath is actually just an RTMP feed. And they sell that box for $15,000. And that's for one, so you need 30 to actually use the thing. And they sell that box as a solution to low latency video. So for those reasons, I would not hesitate to use RTMP to stream the video. Now, how to actually do that? Is it two-way video, or is it just you're coming in with a bunch of sources all coming back into some master switcher?
No, basically we just have our classroom, and I'm going to have microphones set up around the table so you can hear the classroom participants, and we'll have one camera shot on the speaker, and then we'll, with OBS, have like slides and things overlaid as well. And so we want the people who are remote to be able to see that while also being able to chat with us. So if we ask them to like read a passage or something like that, that they could read it and participate in that way.
Quite frankly, that sounds like almost something that Hangouts would be really suited for. And again, it depends on how high quality you want the video to be and how high quality you want the recording to be. Eric is actually in our Mumble room, and he may have a suggestion for you as well. Go ahead, Eric.
I'm really trying to figure this out. So basically, you want two-way communication. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, we want one-way video source, but we want people to be able to chat with us live like we're doing right now.
So, any ideas, Eric, or no?
Okay. I appear to be having some connection problems, but I'll try to get this out. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm having trouble here. Sorry. I'm just going to go on as if I'm connected. We're in the transition process at my church myself. I would look into living as one and then just have a phone call coming back for the audio from the other place. That's pretty much all I've got right now.
Yeah, I'd be, before I went to a phone call, I think I would use something like Hangouts, because it's, at least you're going to have a wideband codec, or Skype even is going to have a wideband codec. And the other problem you're going to run into if you try and separate those out is you're going to have some way of syncing up the audio that's coming in over the phone. Excuse me, and the video that's there. So what I would do, Cordons, is I would either do like a video solution like Skype, like Hangouts, or I would actually set up individual RTMP feeds that go back to that central switching place, and then have on the remote end have those people viewing the master feed, so to speak, if that makes sense.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So I'll go on to my second question. Thank you for that. But so I also work for a school. We do remote teaching from the school, but currently we do our normal like teacher-to-teacher chat over over Skype, and I've been trying to set up a Rocket Chat server to replace that, but the one thing I'm running into, once again, it's an audio issue, is Rocket Chat pulls in Jitsi, and it's not real transparent, and it's not real great. Is there any other Rocket Chat like application that also does voice calling?
Yeah, I mean, well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but there is Discord. I mean, I'm man,
yeah,
I am going to.
Discord isn't a managed solution. That'd be no different than using Skype.
Yeah, well, and also, I promise you, there are some people that are having a good laugh at my expense right now. Yeah, I'd say, well, how about this for a solution? I don't know how to fix if there's a way that Rocket Chat can be fixed so that it works properly for you, but there is a gentleman in our community, and he has set up a number of Mattermost and Rocket Chat instances. Let me do this. If you can send me a telegram or an email, or head over to asknoahshow.com and click on the contact link, give me some way to get your contact information. Let me reach out to him and see if he has experienced some issues with Rocket Chat, and see if he has some solutions, and we'll try and get an answer for you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. And last but not least, we had one other gentleman in the Mumble room. I can't find the Major. Hey, Major, what's up?
Oh, hey, Major. Hey, no, basically, I think it was another guy was supposed to be before me, but that's okay if you accept my question.
Okay, well, why don't you go? I don't care.
J-Bed, you can go because you're before me.
All right, so I had a question about audio switching and how it kind of sucks in Linux with Chrome, and how when I booted into Windows, it was perfect when I connected my Bluetooth and the audio in the background in the tab was still playing, and it wasn't like I didn't have to close the tab and reopen the instance.
Sure. Well, I guess I'd start out by saying you and I have very different experiences, because I have found audio in Windows to be anything but perfect. For one, Windows tends to group all of the audio devices under a single stereo output, which makes recording individual channels or sending individual channels back to a multi-channel mixer, things like that, impossible. So for a lot of reasons, I don't particularly like the the Windows sound system. But as far as to problems with Bluetooth and stuff like that, are you running the latest version of Ubuntu?
I'm running Debian 10.
Okay. The reason I ask, and this is probably coming to Debian if it's not there already, the reason I ask is because the team over at Canonical has done extensive work on the Bluetooth subsystem, and it was one of the first things I noticed about 1710, and that was back just when I was beta testing it. I have a small little Bluetooth speaker that I use because the speakers on my laptop aren't that great. And I connected it. No audio sync issues, no switching over issues. No, it played through the laptop for the next 30 seconds and then finally switched over to the Bluetooth. No, when I powered the Bluetooth speaker on, it wouldn't connect anymore after the first time I paired. All of those issues seem to be gone in 1710, and that's new because I have had issues in the past.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a funny story because I actually jumped from Ubuntu to Debian 10.
Okay, great.
On this laptop because I was having so many issues with crashing.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but like I said, whatever.
One more thing.
Yeah.
Would Pipewire solve this?
Maybe. I'd be honest with you, I have not played enough with Pipewire to be able to give you an answer on that. But as more information comes out and as we're able to play with it a little bit, I'd love to get back to you.
All right, yeah, and great to be calling in a Mumble with better than calling in over the legacy cell network.
Yeah, man, for sure. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. The Major, what's up, man?
Hey, Noah. I just wanted to say thanks, first of all, for getting me onto Bitwarden. I think that's a fantastic tool, and I'm slowly migrating across from LastPass to that.
Yes, sir. You liking it, huh?
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. And I love the fact that it's open source. And if it goes down or goes commercial at any stage, then, we can always go on to a hosted solution.
Absolutely. How can I help today?
Okay, so I'm a recent convert to KDE Neon, coming across from Windows, and I'm absolutely loving it so far. I think it's fantastic. I love Plasma. It's a great, great desktop environment. But one thing that I'd really like to do that I'm having trouble figuring out how to do is to set up like an automated backup of my home directory, possibly with something that's going to wake up the computer from sleep, basically. I sleep my computer at the end of the day. I would like it, ideally, to wake up, say, midnight or something like that, run a backup like an rsync or something like that, and then go back to sleep again. How can I do that?
Well, geez, you threw me for a loop with the waking up from suspend. There is probably a way to script that for it to wake up and then go. I know I can for sure script going back to sleep. As far as waking up, chat room, if you got any ideas, speak up. As far as
something to do with maybe, I think I saw something about RTC Wake.
Yeah, possibly. A lot of things I've been asked to do. I've never been asked to script waking a computer up from suspend. The other thing that you might be able to work with is there might be some way to do it with the wake on LAN function, because we have used that inside of our Simple Help management console to do some automated tasks, and that's how Simple Help wakes a machine up that's asleep is using the wake on LAN function. So there might be something there, but off the top of my head, I don't have a great answer for you. I have a great answer for you as far as to actually how to back it up. I would write a script in rsync, or use something like Datto, which is a managed backup solution provider. But as far as how to wake it up,
rsync is fantastic as a built-in tool. It's great, really easy to use. So I guess I'll just try and figure out if there's a bash script or something I can write and see if I can get the computer to wake up or schedule something. I know I could do it in Windows 10, so I'm sure that I can do it in KDE Neon.
For sure. Yeah. Let us know how that works. Again, open phone lines, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. All right. Joining us on the program is Mr. John White. Hey, John, sorry for the wait, but welcome to the program.
Hi, Noah. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about this. I have been asked over and over and over again about about Chef. And the thing is, one of the things I like about Chef right off the bat is all of the terms revolve around the concept of cooking and stuff like that. And so I have, it makes it very easy to conceptualize. So I guess give me the rundown. If somebody hasn't ever heard of Chef before, if this is the first time they're hearing of the word Chef, or they're hearing of the first project Chef, tell me what Chef is and how you use it.
So Chef is a DevOps tool, the development operations. It's meant to make it easier and less error prone to deploy things, to manage things. Chef in particular is a configuration tool, a server configuration tool.
Okay. And so why is it, do you think, not more people are using Chef? Why is it that people are kind of, initially when they hear of Chef, or they kind of see it, or they look at it for the first time, they kind of shy away from it? What do you think drives people from it sometimes?
Well, it requires a large time investment to get up and productive with Chef. The documentation used to be pretty bad, but in the past year or two, it's gotten so much better, and the terms are very easy. I'm kind of jealous of new users because it's just so much easier to find things now on Chef's website.
So one of the things that you have done for us is you've actually written a custom guide specifically for the Ask Noah Show audience. Thank you so much for doing that. As I'm going through it, I'm looking through this guide, and man, this is some really straightforward stuff. So walk me through this. It seems like this should take no more than 10 minutes to have this up and running.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope so. But some background, we'll be using a tool called Knife. You can just install it as a gem. It's a little helper utility that helps you run Chef first on a single server or a small group of servers. Otherwise, you'll have to set up your own Chef server to manage the different computers, and it's a little overkill for one server.
Awesome.
To set up your computer for Chef, and I'm saying your host computer, the computer that you'll be running Chef on to communicate with the server, you first need to set up a public-private key pair with RSA. The command is very simple: SSH-keygen-TRSA, and you have to make sure not to enter a password when it prompts you for it.
Okay, and so this is and basically what this is doing is it's generating a key-based authentication that you can use to SSH into the server, so you don't have to enter the password each time.
Yes. Knife has a bit of an issue with that. It doesn't like you entering passwords, and when you scale up to multiple servers, you really don't want to be entering passwords for each of them anyway.
Okay, all right. So we have SSH set up. We have a keygen pair generated. Now what?
First, you have to add the SSH key with SSH-add, otherwise it'll give you an error. And then we install RVM on the local machine.
Okay, now what is RVM?
Make sure. RVM is a Ruby version manager. It allows you to specifically choose allows you to run a specific version of Ruby. In this case, we run 2.3 as there's an issue with Knife with Ruby 2.4.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, did I lose you?
No, we're here. So we're gonna install this Ruby version manager, and again, this entire guide is going to be available in the show notes. But we're going to use curl, and we're gonna go ahead and fetch the Ruby version manager, and then we install it, and now we're set up. Now the system is set up, right?
Make sure if you use gnome terminal to go into the profile and run command as a root terminal. Otherwise, RVM may not run.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we got RVM installed. We got the machine set up. Now what?
So now you specify the version number of Ruby you want to install. RVM install 2.3.6.
Okay.
It'll take a while to install.
And does it have to be 2.3.6?
If you just stick to 2.3, that'll be great.
Okay. And you said that there's an issue with anything. There's an issue with anything over 2.4 because of Knife, right? It doesn't work well with 2.4 or newer.
Yeah, I believe the Git version of Knife works with newer versions of Ruby, but for now, you need to stick to 2.3.
Okay. All right. So we got RVM, we got the Ruby version manager installed. We got 2.3 installed. Talk to me about this cookbook. This is the bread and butter of Chef. Yeah.
Yes, we could. Yes, we generate a cookbook, and it creates a list of different. It creates a variety of different folders. One holds your attributes, which are variables in Chef. Another holds the recipes, which is essentially a recipe is essentially a collection of resources, which are the different tasks you can specify to configure the server.
Okay. So, break that down a little bit. Walk me through that.
So one resource would be the execute resource. That's just basic shell scripting. But more advanced resources that specify functionality that would be much more difficult to run with shell scripts would be templates, users. Templates are essentially the way you configure configuration files in Chef.
Okay.
For those of you who use Rails, you'll particularly like that they can be ERB files, which means you can control the generation of them, just like you would use in a Rails view.
Okay. Now, what is what is that file that you just tell me what that is? Because I'm not a Ruby guy.
So ERB files, you can just use plain text files.
Okay.
But you can also use ERB files, which are embedded Ruby files. From there, you can add in little things like if branches, like if this attribute is yes, generate this. Otherwise, no. That's a basic layout that I would use for testing configurations, that kind of stuff, or production.
Okay. Cool. And so we've got this we've got the cookbook created, and we've created a test file. Now talk to me about actually automating the whole process.
What do you specifically mean?
So we have the cookbook created. Now I assume that we want to script and automate this entire process so that the cookbook will take effect and be applied to these machines, right?
Oh, yes. So first you have to set up the machine. You need to create a node file. You'd use the knife solo prepare command for that.
Okay.
It'll create a node file with your IP address. In that IP address, in that node file, you would add in your cookbook's name, my_cookbook default.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you can then run the knife solo cook command to actually run the script, and it'll then run. Knife will then send the cookbook over to your server, and it'll completely run the script.
And now, if I want to set up a second server, a second server, John, all I have to do is install RVM and apply that cookbook to the second server, and I've essentially duplicated my, the entire configuration process, right?
Oh, you don't even need to install RVM. RVM is only installed on the host machine, the machine that you run send the cookbook. You don't even need to install Ruby on the server.
Really?
The cookbook is included. That the Chef has an agent. Yeah, Chef has an agent, and it executes the cookbook for you on the server automatically. In fact,
that's
cool. Concern is that a security concern is you'll then want to run nice solo. I believe it's called destroy. I can't remember the name to then delete the agent and the cookbook if you so desire if it's a security concern.
Okay, and this is all happening over SSH. So if I install that, if I install the Chef agent, I'm basically set. I don't really have to do anything else other than generate that SSH key and give my Chef, Chef computer access over SSH, to the remote server, obviously.
Yep. In fact, you just need to run the knife solo prepare command to create a new node file, and then you can just reuse your recipe file.
Okay, fantastic. And if people want to learn more, obviously we're going to have this guide that you wrote specifically for the show, the thing that you've just kind of given us a brief walkthrough. Obviously, we're going to have that in the show notes. But if people wanted to learn more, where would you recommend they go?
So at the bottom of the guide, there's a link to my new chef course, which features all this information and a lot more, much more in-depth explanations. For example, the execute blocks, I use Debian non-interactive mode, and it explains that in depth in my chef course. It explains how to set up things such as guards for one-off commands.
Awesome.
A lot of information on templates and other stuff.
Fantastic. WyattTechCourses.com, and I assume they can get in contact with you that way too if they have questions.
Yes, there's at the end of the homepage. There should be there's a little mailing section. You can just fill it in, and I'll get an email about it.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, John, for joining us on the Ask Noah Show. We really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Perfect. We'll get you back on the program real soon. Again, open phones, 1-855-450-NOAH. That's 1-855-450-6624. The email, live@asknoahshow.com. Now, some of you have written to the show or called the show or telegrammed me and said, hey, you know what, Noah, I really want to know more about behind the scenes of the Ask Noah Show. And I had an opportunity a couple months ago. We talked about it on the show. I had an opportunity to visit with my friend Chris Curran from the Podcast Engineering School. And we went pretty in depth in how we produce the show and the equipment that's used for the show. And so I just included a link in this week's show notes for that particular episode. So I had somebody ask me just we were at Scale, and somebody came up and they said, well, what is the equipment you're using and how do you do it? And we've gone over that in relative detail. So we'll just have a link for that if you want to check it out. Also, some of the companies, the products that we're using have featured us because they're very happy that we're using their products. And so a link for that video is also in the show notes. Our Linux Elimination Challenge hasn't seen enough love in the past couple of weeks. We've been neglecting it, and we need to right that wrong. So head over to asknoahshow.com/elimination. This week we pitted Maui Linux versus NixOS. Unsurprisingly, NixOS pulled ahead with 68%. Maui Linux trailing at 32%. This coming week we are pitting Deepin versus OSGeo Live and OSGeo, I suppose it is. And we're getting into the area of the Distro Elimination Challenge where I have not personally used a lot of these, but I am learning about all of them as we go on, and I'm at least spinning these up in a VM, if not actually installing them to try them out. So Deepin is a Debian-based distribution that aims to provide an elegant, user-friendly, reliable operating system. It not only includes the best open source the world has to offer, but it's also created their own desktop environment called the Deepin desktop environment, which is based on the Qt5 toolkit. Deepin focuses much attention on the intuitive design in homegrown applications like Deepin Software Center, dmusic, dplayer, tailored to the average user. Being easy to install, Deepin can be a great Windows replacement for the office and home use. Deepin versus OSGeo Live. OSGeo Live is a self-contained bootable DVD, USB thumb drive, or virtual machine based off of Ubuntu. That allows you to try a wide variety of open source geospatial software without actually installing anything. It's composed entirely of free software, allowing it to be freely distributed, duplicated, and passed around. It includes pre-configured applications for a wide range of geospatial cases, including storage, publishing, viewing, analysis, and manipulation of data. It also includes a sample data set and documentation. So go ahead and cast your vote, asknoahshow.com/elimination. We would appreciate it. And as we wind down the Distro Elimination Challenge, we are starting work on our website. The website is, we're going to build the Amazon review sites of Linux distros. And the reason for that is pretty simple. When I go to buy a product, if I want to buy a vacuum cleaner, for example, which I did actually last week, I go to Amazon.com and I look at the most amount of reviews for vacuum cleaners. And when I find a vacuum cleaner that has 5,000 reviews of 4.5 stars, I know that that particular vacuum cleaner is a really good vacuum cleaner. And so I want to do that with Linux distros because I think the people that are out there that are using the Linux distros, they know it better than anyone else. Hey guys, did you know that you can download this show as a podcast? Podcast.asknoahshow.com. A huge thanks to Ben, our producer, Sarah, our call screener, and Rikai, our video editor. We'll hand you off to the Harm Reduction Hour on 88.3 FM, Grand Forks.